And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Troy, how was Scottsdale, Arizona?
It was fantastic. I love spring training. I miss it. I loved covering baseball during spring. Obviously, the Rockies hadn't played a regular season game by then, so
Yeah.
but I got to do a lot of Rockies interviews. I was at Team USA practice, catching up with some former players that I had covered back in the day, including Matt Holliday. So yeah, it was a fantastic day all the way around.
Good. We'll start the show in a minute. First, though, want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 50 years. On Thursday, Larkspur Outlet is having an auction for structure wood, fencing, decking, bathroom, kitchen, and laundry accessories, light fixtures, contractor tools, and more. Bidding is started at rollerauction.com. And don't forget to go to rollerauction.com to learn about all these amazing auctions that are coming up. They really have something for everyone. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Jamal Murray was fantastic last night against Utah. The rest of the team overall, not so much. Nuggets won. Let's not complain about a win. You know, any win is a good win. However, the Jazz, who you can argue are tanking, were missing 3 of their top 4 scorers and 6 players overall. Troy, how do you view this win? Was this almost as embarrassing as that loss to the Warriors, in which the Warriors were missing a whole bunch of players? Or would you argue the Nuggets are playing the back end of a back-to-back, and it's not easy to do that?
Oh, listen, I don't want to hear anything about the schedule. That's number one. Stop, uncle, on the schedule. Secondly, Utah is openly tanking. They've created and spurred an investigation by the NBA to change rules by how little they are trying to win. So I don't want to hear about back-to-back. I don't want to hear about being on the road. I don't want to hear about the opponent.
Can I just say one quick thing, Troy? They've lost the benefit of the doubt to make that argument. And that's just the bottom line to me. If they were playing well, closing out games, beating teams that they're supposed to beat, and they lose this game, because every team has a one-off, every team goes through a stretch. But with the way this team has played for a while now, the benefit of the doubt is out. So to your point, that excuse is completely out the window.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, and they also haven't played well at the Delta Center. Again, don't care. Here's the reality. Utah Jazz are terrible. Yes, the kid was great last night, DeJounte. I mean, yes, but I don't want to hear about it. I used to cover the Rockies like that. Oh, you got to tip your cap. Got to tip your cap to the pitcher. You're the only one tipping your cap. No one else does. It's you. You stink. When you go into a room and it always smells, it's you. And so what bothered me about the Nuggets last night is the same thing that's bothered me for weeks. They can't get stops. It's not the offense. They scored 128 points, and Jokic had an off night. Other than Jamal Murray, no one was really consistent, and they still score 128 points. The problem is they can't get stops, and it's so discouraging. And last night, if we're being honest, listen, I'm not going to ever say a win's a loss. It's not. And David Adelman, though, was just like, we've got into society where we're criticizing wins. Yeah, David, because you're 1-9 in your last 10 against teams with winning records, and you needed 2 gift things to happen at the end of that game. That review on Jokic, I don't know how they're saying him pushing the guy in the back didn't affect the shot. They're like, well, he didn't hit him on the block, and we determined the push on the back is incidental contact. Really? That's not a foul when you push someone, they're in the air on a shot? So they get that overturned. For me, that's a gift. That wasn't a 50-50 call. That's a gift. And then what the hell is Utah doing, Eric, with 16 seconds left? Nuggets are up by 1. They throw the ball in, and Utah lets them take off 10 seconds. Like, as soon as you don't get the inbounds, you foul. So you have a chance to get 2 possessions to stay in the game.
Troy, bad teams do bad things.
Well, it was literally
in situations in which they need to win, and they don't know how to win. They don't have the roster to win.
I know, but that's high school Harry basketball. The ball comes in, you don't steal it, you foul. It was like they realized during that timeout for the review, holy crap, we're tanking. Like that's how it looked like they had a revelation that when that ball was inbounded, nobody fell because we forgot we're tanking. Players don't want to tank. I get it. But it was like in that instance, they were told by the bench, let about 10 seconds go off the clock so we have no chance to recover.
Right.
What a mess. And now they had come up with a stretch. What do they have? Lakers, Knicks, Rockets, Spurs. I mean, they have a 5-game stretch coming up to where, it is going to get gnarly. Now, again, they should get healthy here. Hopefully on Thursday we see Gordon and Watson, or at least one of the two. But that was as least of an impressive win as you can have if you're the Nuggets. It is a win.
Yep.
But the idea you can't criticize a team for a win is laughable. They don't do things well that are hallmarks of a winning team, Eric. They can't get stops.
Just like, playing the back end of a back-to-back, you've lost the ability to say, well, it was this situation and it was a tough night and the travel. You've lost that ability to have that argument. The Nuggets did close out in the fourth quarter. They did win, but to be honest with you, is it really the same thing as the argument of playing the back end of a back-to-back, which is, you closed out in the fourth quarter against a team that isn't very good. Do you lose that argument as well?
Well, I mean, at least you made a few shots. And basically they made free throws in the fourth quarter. The reason it didn't feel different, like, there's their clutch gene back. They ranked 31st in the clutch gene this year. I think they're 15 and 16 now in those situations after being no lower than third the previous 3 years. But it didn't feel clutch, Eric. I don't know about you, because I think they made 20 free throws or 22 free throws in the fourth quarter. They literally only had a handful of baskets. So it wasn't like, oh my, look, the shot making, look at the two-man game. It was literally hope somebody fouls Murray to get him to the line. Like, that's how you have to beat the Jazz. And I don't want to hear about travel. You could practically run to Salt Lake City from Denver. It's not like they went to Orlando and back. So again, it was unimpressive because the things that have bothered them and that have created this concern among people that are thinking they're a championship team, we're all still on display, all of it. Jokic is still not right. He doesn't look healthy. His shooting touch, because of the wrist, whatever, it just feels a little off. He turns the ball over more than we're used to seeing him turn it over. So it took, one of Jamal's best performances of the season to beat the Jazz, who aren't trying. In terms of trying to win. They were with the guys on the floor, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, did that look clutch to you, Eric?
Nope, because I look at the opponent.
Right.
And to your point, I'm not going to say they're actively tanking, although they've been accused of it. They were missing 3 of their top 4 scorers. And 3 of those top 4 scorers are averaging, I believe, at least 2 of them are 20 points a game. And the other guy is averaging a high, points per game as well. We have 20 games to go in the regular season, and David Adelman will ultimately be judged on how this team plays in the playoffs. But with 20 games to go, how do you even evaluate David Adelman as the head coach? And what do I mean by that? Yes, this team has dealt with a lot of injuries. He has had to put together this team with duct tape and popsicle sticks for the majority of the season, but they haven't played well on many nights. Embarrassing losses, not being able to close out. So how do you even give him a grade? Because you have to give him a solid B+, A- for keeping this thing together. But they don't look like, they look like a shell of what we thought they should look like.
It is weird because of the injuries, and this isn't an excuse. It's just we have to contextualize.
Yeah.
If you were grading him just without Jokic and they're 10 and 6, that's an A. That's an A. The problem is that, to me, is a pop quiz in relation to the season. This team was built with one goal: win a championship, or at least reach the NBA Finals. So when they get healthy, even if it's only with 15 games left, 18 games left, that's what ultimately he's going to be basically evaluated on. And he has struggled with rotations. He's struggling with the second unit now, even though they have more depth. The second unit recently looks a lot like the second unit last year. Guys are scared. Nobody wants to shoot. They lack, they've had to call not rage timeouts, but he's had to call timeouts because the second unit just literally goes in the tank. So it's like he had an A in one, and the rest of the season feels like, to me, like a C at times. But now here's the final. It's like, okay, you got to be in the class right now, maybe a B minus. These last 20 games and the playoffs, that's your final. That's what we say. That's 35% of your grade. So how this works, it's not fair. It's pro sports and a team with championship expectations. So, I like Adam. I love how he sees offense, but if they cannot fix their defense and become functional, that's going to come back on him because they have a better bench than last year. They do. Now, whether they play that way is different, but they have options. Their bench last year, Eric, in the playoffs was Russell Westbrook and like one game of Julian Strother. That was it.
Right.
So you can't, once they get healthy, and you know how this, Eric, tell me where this is going. You know where this is going. If they get bounced in the first round, we're going to hear the parade of people on the team side and those who are, waving the pom-poms. Oh, the injuries. Oh, the injuries. You just can't, how can you ever overcome those injuries? They didn't have enough time to gel. Again, you built a championship team. And we spoke that just reminds me of when the Rockies didn't have Cargo and Tulo. Look at our winning percentage when they play. I know, but they don't, and you don't have any depth. So stop telling me. And are they the Nuggets the only team that have had injuries this year?
Yes, they are the only one.
And they're going to be healthy at the end. It's different if they lost them right now. I get it. Like Peyton and Gordon went out right before the playoffs. Yeah, that's a different animal. In theory, aren't they going to be healthy going into the playoffs, Eric?
There's about 20 games to go. We're expecting Gordon back this week. Even if both those guys came back healthy with 10 games to go, that should be enough time.
100%. And they played together 10 games to start the season. So it's a fourth of the season together. It's not great. I agree. But are we going to qualify everything for a team that had championship expectations?
Yeah,
this isn't the Broncos from a couple years ago.
I'm going to be curious to see the autopsy on this season if they get bounced early or get bounced in the second round. It's like having a beautiful rug. You just don't know what's below it. And I'm guessing there are a lot of things below that rug that we are not aware of that will eventually come out. Now, I don't have a stat on this, but I'm guessing it's a small sample size. I'm wondering if any team in sports history has had a players-only meeting after a win, but they need one after this game. They needed one after the Warriors' loss, right?
Yeah.
And they need one desperately. If Jokic is the leader that we believe that he is, he needs to go in there and start breaking chairs with no coaches or any support staff. We're going to find out what kind of leader he truly is because of the way this team is playing. And to your point, they're waiting for Gordon and Watson to come back. I'm not saying that they're using it as an excuse, but to your point, what's going to happen if they do come back and they're still playing like this?
Yeah, that's panic. That is panic. And that's like, now you've been pantsed in front of the world of, oh God, we're not as good as we thought we were. And again, the issue is, for me, they're relying so much on Gordon that this 31-year-old who's had 7-8 leg injuries in the last 9 months is going to save your season. Just when you say that out loud, does that sound realistic? And now, if he had been healthy all year except this recent hamstring, that's different.
Right.
Or if it was Watson was Gordon and he's 23 and he's had one hamstring. Aaron has not been healthy since the playoffs last year. He's only played in 20 games, a fourth of the season. Yeah. And so that's the part I'm having trouble coming to grips with. And everyone keeps telling me, and no one likes Gordon more than me. I watched it in the playoffs last year. I was there covering it, LA and Oklahoma City. I know what he means to the team, but it just feels like, man, you're leaning on him in a way that's uncomfortable given his recent injury history.
Is he going
to be? What is he going to look like when he comes back? That's the other thing.
I want to take a couple of hard right turns. Let's dive into the Broncos, and specifically the reports over the weekend that the Lions are willing to trade David Montgomery for a 5th-round pick. Well, half that report was right. David Montgomery was traded. The Lions were more than willing to do it, except they got far more than a 5th-round pick. Montgomery now goes to the Houston Texans. A 4th-round pick, a 7th-round pick, and a little used offensive guard. With that, should the Broncos have offered a 4th, a 7th, and a little used player on the roster?
No, because there's options in free agency. He wasn't the only guy out there.
Yeah.
If it was such a bleak class where you had let's say it was just Breece Hall,
Yeah.
just Jeremiah Love in the draft and Montgomery, then yeah, I would pay that price for Montgomery because I'm not paying Breece Hall or getting to some bidding war for Breece Hall, and I'm not trading up for Jeremiah Love. But in Montgomery's case, I like the player, but I also like the other options we've all talked about throughout this, these weeks, whether that's for me, Travis Etienne. Kenneth Walker is probably less of a fit for them, but Kenneth Walker, you've got Rico Dowdle, you've got Tyler Algier. There's 4 other guys sitting right there. There's no way I would pay that price for Montgomery. And again, I like Montgomery. I think, though, if you went to a 5th and a backup lineman, you could have done it too. I don't think 2 draft picks is too rich for me. I mean, I like Montgomery. You talked about it yesterday, too, with Montgomery. I mean, are you giving 3 things for Montgomery? I mean, that one guy, who knows if he even makes the team? But doesn't that feel a little rich for the blood? 3 things for David Montgomery?
7th-round picks don't bother me. A 4th-round pick does bother me. A 4th-round pick is a guy who should be a contributor on your roster.
Yeah.
For sure. At some point.
And a starter probably in year 2.
A 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, to me, those become crapshoots. I know guys have panned out, have become very good players. I think there was a guy, he's a quarterback. He was drafted in the 6th round. He was pretty good. So, yes, you have your outlier. Malik Jackson was not a 4th round pick. What was he, a 5th round pick? Maybe 6th round pick?
5th or 6th, yeah.
So there are some guys who certainly can perform. With that, speaking of trades, Avalanche win last night, beat the Kings. With the trade deadline coming up quickly, it will be on Friday. The Avs appear to be hot on the trail of Naz Kadri, which I can certainly understand. Personally, I think they should go after Ryan O'Reilly, who I believe is a better player defensively, and Kadri is still very good. Right now, O'Reilly is having one of the best seasons of his career in Nashville. He is a captain. He is a Selke winner. My only issue is with O'Reilly is locker room fit. Yeah. Not because O'Reilly can't fit in that locker room. I think he is still butthurt about what happened about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
As far as Kadri goes, is it worth eating 3 more years of his deal at $7 million, knowing he is 35 years old?
I mean, you do it for one reason, to win a title. And so, no, in general, it's not. It's not a great investment. And it's going to look awful if you get bounced in the 2nd round or the 1st and you just took on this contract, because now you've got a contract that's likely not tradable on the backside. But if you're asking me, and I just say that as someone who roots for the story, I want Kadri.
Sure.
He's a fascinating guy. He says stuff. He's outspoken. He's an irritant. I mean, he's just a joy to cover for us. Yeah. Selfishly, I want Kadri. O'Reilly's a better player. There's no question right now. But I do think it's real. I mean, you watched when he plays in Denver, man. He's got a little extra spice to him, a little caliente. And he's always seems a little pissed when he comes back to Denver. So I'm not saying you can't suddenly change that. We've seen that with, like Todd Lemieux of the world back. I mean, you could pick trades where, the last guy, a guy team wanted in the locker room is this guy, and he gets there, and it's fine. But I don't know that they would go with it. I don't know enough of the backstory. You follow hockey more closely.
I was covering the team at that time. It was ugly.
Right. Who's left? Who's left when the Avs? Is there bad blood with anyone?
There's nobody here. Well, Sakic. Sakic played with them.
Right. So is that enough to not want to be here because Sakic's still here? I mean, you would know better. I wasn't covering it then.
I just know that it was a very ugly end with a contract negotiation. Excuse me, and his dad got involved. It just wasn't pleasant. So I don't know if O'Reilly would even want to come here. But O'Reilly's contract, he has 1 year left at $4.5 million.
Yeah, that's way better.
I mean, it fits every category. In my opinion, better player offensively, better player defensively, same age, but it's the contracts. It's the contract as much as anything. However, the one thing that sides with Kadri is he knows that locker room. And to your point, he is an irritant. He is a straw that stirs the drink. I think it has been overblown that Kadri was one of the biggest reasons why they won the cup. No, I think Makar was. I think McKinnon was. I think Landeskog was. I think there were other players that were more important. But what Kadri was, he was kind of like a glue guy that people rallied around. He is more of a force that you can't see on the stat sheet.
Well, he played out of his mind against the Blues that year.
Yep.
That got him. I mean, he wasn't a force all the way through, but he was. Remember how he drove Bennington crazy? And
I'm saying as a personality,
yes,
he is because the Avs don't have a bunch of guys in that locker room that are fiery, for lack of a better phrase. He is one of those guys.
And it's not
he
just
has
fiery.
an extra dimension to the locker room and on the ice. I get it. And that is an intangible that I don't know if Ryan O'Reilly has. When he was here, he was a pretty active player. At the end of the day, Ryan O'Reilly is a captain. Ryan O'Reilly is well respected in this league.
No, Kadri's a heel. He fits a role that he pisses the other team off.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's needling you. He's the guy that's talking in the back. He's a little bit of Claude Lemieux. I mean, I would never compare him to Claude, but he gets under the other team's skin, and sometimes it feels like what's been one of the criticisms of the Avs, fair or not. They're a little bit too pretty. They get caught up in skating. They, shoot the damn puck, get the ugly stuff. Kadri's one that will get into the fight. He loves it. He wants you to talk back. He wants you to get into this with him. And so I think in that year they won it, it was perfect. Now, over the course of a season, sometimes he probably drives you crazy. Like, dude, on a Tuesday night in Ottawa, do you really need to be picking fights? Like, there's probably guys like, the guy like, really, dude, can you just behave so we can play this game? But in the playoffs, that stuff matters. That stuff gets teams, how they play up every angle, and so I would prefer Kadri from a coverage standpoint, selfishly. But from a player standpoint, there's no question O'Reilly's been better. Maybe just O'Reilly, they trade for him and they just start calling him Murphy. And he's like a different guy. It's like, I've never seen this guy before. He's brand new to us. So I don't know. I do think it felt like when they traded Girard that it was setting up another move. It did to me. Now they had to give up a second to get rid of that deal, but I just can't believe that was the deal, right? It just feels like there's at least, and McFarland has a history of making deadline moves. And we criticized it's too easy Calvin Booth for his inactivity of deadlines. McFarland's the other way. Hell, he's added like 7 pieces at the deadline in the last few years.
I think that the Flames would love nothing more than to trade Kadri.
I agree. Because it's not working. They're terrible.
Flames aren't going anywhere. Honestly, Kadri was a mistake for them.
Yeah.
They paid him like a first-line center, and he's not.
Let me ask you this, because you watch hockey with a more discerning eye. Do you think, because he hasn't obviously produced there, could he get back with this group and that energize him, even if it's only for a few months, and get him back to being a more productive kind of clutch player? Because we don't even hear about him anymore. It's like he doesn't exist in the NHL. Right. Could him reuniting with all these great players around him bring out the best in him at this age?
There's no question.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's well respected in the locker room. The guys like him. They appreciate what he brings. And just look at his numbers playing with the Avs as opposed to playing with Toronto or playing with the Flames.
Yeah.
You are going to get a bump in production when you play with McKinnon, Landeskog, Makar, Nichushkin, so on and so forth, Taves. You're just going to be more productive. It doesn't mean you're a better player. You're just going to be on the score sheet more.
Let me ask you this. Would they consider moving Val?
That would be an enormous mistake.
Because he has not done much this year. He's been basically a ghost this year. Based on his previous production. I'm not saying I would, but I've heard that buzz from people I know that really know hockey. They're like, holy crap, would they move him? As you bring on that, could you bring on Kadri's salary? You move Val at a time where maybe you kind of sneakily get rid of that contract? Because there was a couple years ago, they couldn't wait to try to get rid of that contract.
Correct.
And Val's, to all credit to him, it looks like he's got his life completely back on track.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with that. It's just he's not a goal scorer anymore.
Right. But he is a guy that plays well in the PK. He is a guy that is willing to go in the corners. He is a guy that is willing to stand in front of the net. The only other guy that does that routinely, at least on the top two lines, is Lehkonen.
Yeah, and he's hurt.
Landeskog when he's playing.
And Lehkonen just got hurt, it looks like. So, yeah, I'm not saying I would. I've just heard that out there. I was like, man, I don't know that I would do that right now. I get his production is way down, but you did mention he's been nails on PK. For all their issues on the power play, part of the reason they still win is because their PK has been right around tops in the league the whole season.
Coming up after the break, you are down at spring training. You have covered lots of teams down in Scottsdale, as have I. But you're down there. I am here in Denver. What feels differently, Troy, about this locker room? And also, the Rockies have a new pitching philosophy. Do they have a test monkey ready to work with to make this dream, this new philosophy a reality? That's next.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Black Hawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or nearly $25,000 in cash the weekend of May 16th. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
All right, Troy, you're down at spring training. I know that every team feels the beginning of spring training, they have a chance. But when you walked into the locker room, yesterday for the first time. What is the temperature in that room from the players that they think is realistic for this season?
Yeah, what's different is just the vibe that Warren Schaefer is in charge for a full season. There's music playing, like Schaefer is bouncing. Like he is that guy, like motivational speaker who just came from the gym. He's got real energy, which guys insist he has it throughout a 162 game season, because that's really hard to pull off in baseball. But he was like, I walked in, I saw him. He's like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's bouncing. I don't even know the guy. Like, and so I'm like, that's cool. And I like the, the vibe. I saw Paul DePodesta, and people are in good mood, smiling. And I will say that is completely different than the last few years I've been down here, where it just feels like you're walking into a funeral at times. But here's what's fascinating about it. The first guy I see walking into the locker room, this guy's like, hey, Troy, what are you doing? And I'm like, God, who is this? It's Aaron Cook, the former pitcher.
Wow.
He's lost a bunch of weight. Like he lost weight right toward the end of his career, but I didn't like recognize him. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, Cookie, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, oh, I come down for a week to do like guest instructor and spend a week here. And he literally stops. He's like, I cannot believe how different it feels here with the new staff, with the new pitching people. He's like, man, what a breath of fresh air. And he just unsolicited. I haven't seen Cook in years. And so when someone like that says it, like, and he's not with the organization, they're not like paying him type thing. He's just like, man, there's just a good vibe. And the players, it just feels different. Now, again, spring training, I've been around a lot of teams that are optimistic. And as soon as the games count, they get their ass kicked, especially the Rockies. I think I covered 15 straight years of Rockies, and they went to the playoffs twice. So trust me, I know what fake optimism looks like.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's not optimism. It's rooted in change. They're changing their hitting philosophy and how to stress more contact, and their approach to at bats, and how you use Coors Field, and how you get rewarded with the ball in play there. And with pitchers, there's stretching. They're stressing pitch variance, use 4 to 5 pitches, and they're using analytics. I talked to someone the other day about this, and they're like, yeah, even in colleges, Eric, at SEC, they've been hyper data, hyper TrackMan, hyper all this stuff for a decade. And the joke was, yeah, that email never made the Rockies complex. I mean, that's how they're literally like a decade behind. So in some ways, they're like this clay pot that we should see like real progress, and real progress could be meaning avoiding 100 losses, but they are so far behind. It's like me introducing you, like you've been riding around on a moped and I'm driving around on a Harley, and you like the first time you get on the Harley, you don't know how to drive it like I do, but you're like, holy crap, this is what it's like. I joke with anyone I saw out here in the last 24 hours. They're like, what do the Rockies look like? I'm like, well, they have cell phones. They have Wi-Fi. They know how to use share passwords. Like they're finally at least in the game. So it's encouraging that at least it feels it's being run like a professional major league organization.
Is another way to put it that the players actually feel now they are getting the right coaching in order to at least individually get better, which hopefully will become the team getting better, because they weren't using TrackMan, they weren't using analytics, and the coaches that they had were kind of old school guys.
Right. 100%. When I probably talked to like 6 players yesterday. And again, you got to see it, because some of it's talent based. Just because I give you the data, can you apply it? And one thing Warren Schaefer told me yesterday, because I said, listen, this is long overdue. And I wasn't sparing punches. I'm like, this is long overdue. I said, but do you have the coaches that not only can gather the data, but can disseminate it in a way that helps a guy reach his potential? And that's the challenge with coaching and data. Is like, my son has worked in baseball for the last 5 years. It's like people have this feeling about data. It's like they give them a telephone book and the player gets overwhelmed and, oh, data, that's not the key. It's like, maybe you need an index card, Eric. Maybe I need 3 pages. Yeah. Understanding how individual players use the data, make it available to them, and then increase performance. That's this whole thing. It's just about one thing, having you reach your potential. And so, like, when we saw Tyler Anderson leave and other relievers, and the first thing they said is, oh, when I went to the Dodgers, I was a better pitcher because they showed me my pitch shapes and my sequencing. And so I didn't change. I still throw all the same pitches.
Right.
I changed the order. And instead of 2-seam in this count, I emphasize a 4-seam. That's what data can do. It unlocks some secrets. Like, you're beating your head against the wall. Like, why is this guy hitting my fastball? And they show you the data and go, well, if you threw the slider before it instead of the sinker, you're going to get outs. And typically they see some success, not with everyone, but that's why it's encouraging, is that they got the right position. Warren Schaefer referred to it. He kept pointing to the room next to his office. He's like, those guys are doing all the work. They're doing the typing. And then the coaches can disseminate it. He believes, again, we'll see, the staff he has put together are capable of disseminating the data to help these guys reach their potential. But to your point, that's where confidence comes from. It's like, at least they're putting me in the best position to succeed. And then it comes back on the athlete. You don't have any excuses. It's on you to do it.
Let's go back to the 1960s when there was the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union. When you try something totally new that no one has done, generally speaking, you're going to have a test monkey in that rocket. You're not going to sacrifice a human. You're going to sacrifice a test monkey. Is Chase Dollander the test monkey for this new pitching philosophy?
He is the one guy in this lab that can make it make sense, because he's an elite talent, elite arm. And we watched him last year, and I thought he was ready for the big leagues. He wasn't ready for Coors Field. Because if you look at his road numbers, he was competitive on the road. He had a 9.84 at home last year. He was non-competitive. Why was he? When I talked to Chase yesterday, I mean, really, it boiled down to he had no secondary pitch at home. So as soon as he couldn't throw his fastball for a strike, he felt like he was dead at home. So what have they done? They take a guy who can throw 100, who realized through the data, you know what? That 4-seam fastball that you throw at Coors doesn't carry the same. You're not getting swings and misses. It's out of the zone more. He changed really late in the season to a sinker, and then they add a sweeper to it. And they're like, so now the way we'll change eye level and the way you can command the sinker, he's got a power sinker. His first outing, I think, what was it, Sunday, 2 days ago, he's throwing a 99-mile-per-hour sinker for a strike. That's Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah.
That's Kevin Brown. So they basically show him through the data. And remember, he went to Tennessee. He was using this data in college. So this is familiar. He talks this language. And they're showing him, Chase, when you're in the strike zone, you're unbelievably good. Last year, you're trying to trick people like you have like fifth starter stuff. And that, again, this is one example where data can be applied, where let's change the 4-seamer to more sinkers at home. And let's, instead of a bigger curve, let's go a sweeper, pitches that you can command in the strike zone better, and see what that looks like. And his first outing, you're like, oh my God, he's dominant. It's spring training. It's March 1st. I get it. But this is where, again, where you see slivers of progress, Eric.
When Matt Holliday was here, specifically towards the end, I think it is fair to say that he was ready to leave, and he really didn't believe in what the Rockies organization was doing as a whole. When the Rockies drafted Ethan Holliday, I almost felt badly for Ethan. It's great that he got drafted. It's great that he's going to be a Major League Baseball player. But I'm thinking, wow, after everything that Matt has told Ethan about his time with the Rockies, I'm thinking, I feel badly for this guy. You had a chance, I believe, to talk to him yesterday. Where is his head at being in his first Major League camp?
Yeah. So, and remember, because when Matt left, he didn't believe in the pitching. He basically forced a trade. They didn't want to pay him. They tried to strong arm him into a bad deal, and it ended up badly where they traded him. They got a great return for that trade, though. That was one of the few with the Carlos Gonzalez that ended up being a really good trade for O'Dowd. But at that point, Matt just looked at the farm system and was like, I don't see where the pitching's coming from. How are we going to stay competitive? But he did circle back and play at the end of his career with the Rockies. That helped prepare stuff.
Yeah.
But he had real concerns when his son was drafted. basically, like, if they continue forward with the way the front office is operating, this is not a great place to be.
Right.
He knows Josh Burns. Josh was around when he
Yeah.
was playing here. So I'm gonna say he's like, oh, he's gonna figure it out. But he knew Paul Podesta from being in the game. Like, at least when I talked to him yesterday, this is Matt first. Feels like, hey, it feels like they're going in the right direction. A lot of this positive momentum for the first time in 7-8 years since that last playoff berth. So that's number one. Number two is Ethan Holiday he's the third Holiday now. Because it's funny, Jackson, you're like, oh, he had the most pressure. He was the first after Matt. But he rocketed through the minors.
Yeah.
Ethan Holiday was an outlier in how fast he reached the major leagues as a high school draft pick. Because he could command the strike zone discipline. He wasn't as reliant on power. Ethan is built much more like Matt. I talked to Ethan yesterday. He's toned his body. He finished last year at 205. He's like 6'3.5", almost 6'4", right at 220.
Wow.
He just turned 19.
Wow.
So when people criticized him last year, like, oh, he struck out 33% of his bats at Fresno, it was like 80 at bats for an 18-year-old kid. And I'm not making excuses for him, most prospects don't even go out after they get drafted. They stay in the camp at the spring training site and play games there and don't even go out. So when I talked to Ethan about it, he's like, yeah, I learned a lot. Because it's literally like first time away from home, first time facing that. Basically, it was the first time facing that type of pitching velocity. He played on USA National at 15 and 18. But this is the first time where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every guy you face throws 95. That's not what you see in high school. I don't care if it's in Oklahoma or Texas. You don't see 95 every time out. So he went back to the lab, changed his hitting, just like Jackson made an adjustment. Now, instead of the toe tap that kept him on time in high school where they just threw him changeup and curves, he's got a leg stride again. This is where having a dad as a big league hitting instructor helps tremendously. But he's strong in his faith. He's strong with his family, really tight circle, and basically said, I got to stay off social media. Because Matt told me, he's like, in some ways it's harder for Ethan because I succeeded and Jackson at least got to the big leagues.
Right.
People forget Matt didn't get to the big leagues till he was 24. Right. He bounced around the minor leagues for almost 6 years. And so I told him, like, do you tell him that? And he's like, yeah. I remind him, like, just because I was just talking to my son about this. If Jackson Holiday took 3 years in the minors, he's still getting to the big leagues at 22.
Yeah.
Like, don't run just because his brother's there at almost 19, 20 years old. That's an outlier. You want him to get here and hit in the middle of the order and stay, not get here. And like we saw with Zach Veen last year, that's what you don't want. Rush a guy, can't hit, gets overwhelmed, and now his career somehow in balance.
Has Zach Veen turned it around because he took care of some personal things?
He's so much bigger, and I only saw him briefly yesterday. I didn't have a chance to talk to him. He played last year closer to 190. He's roughly 240, 245.
Whoa!
He's unrecognizable. Like,
he's gained 50 pounds? I'm
it's
guessing
somewhere-
a muscle.
A creatine. I mean, to me, he's going to find out that he needs to probably play at 225. Like, he's too big now, but he basically told Thomas Harding in a lengthy interview, he stopped smoking. He stopped smoking marijuana and drinking. And so he had his appetite back and he's like, got healthy, and he just creatine. And they always thought he would fill out his body. But for me, he's probably going to realize that this weight is not ideal. It's giving him way more power, no doubt. But he's a guy who can run the bases. You take one, now you're taking some tools away from him. When I've talked to people that have seen him in spring, he's in a great headspace. He's much healthier. He's just kind of adapting to this new physique. And he still has to learn to be on time against the fastball and lay off the high fastball. I don't know where his future is. I don't see him making this out of camp, but I'd love to see him go to AAA, MASH, figure out what physique works for him. And maybe he becomes a tradable piece. Not every guy has to make your team. He's a guy you trade for something you like. Remember, it's a new regime. Yeah. They've cleared out basically everyone that's been around. Right. And if you got a great piece for Zach and he goes and plays somewhere, good for him. But their outfield right now is going to be with McCarthy and Doyle and Beck. I mean, I just can't see Veen making it as a fourth, fifth out. Tyler Freeman can play outfield. Right. I don't see Veen making it. Charlie Condon is making noise in camp, which is good. he's not going to break camp, but he finally looks like the player that just dominated the SEC a couple years ago. If that guy hits, and Karros is who they think he is, and I'm not sure on Karros, I got to see him hit. Now you can start seeing at least the formation of a respectable big league lineup.
What is the upside for Ethan Holiday?
I mean, the upside is 30 home run guy, middle of the order bat, and future All-Star. It's not mad. I'm not going to put that on him. But when you draft a guy in the top 5, you're drafting a guy that eventually you feel is going to be an All-Star. He doesn't. I'm not Hall of Fame. Not just an All-Star. Maybe it's a 2-time All-Star, and he's just a good player for you. But the upside for him would be, in theory, 30 to 40 home runs, middle of the order bat. And I don't know if he stays at short. I mean, he's almost, again, 6'4". Too low played it, but do I see his future more at third? I do, but I haven't seen him enough at short to know. Maybe he stays at short. But his future is middle of the order bat with Condon. Like that would be the anchors of a lineup, 3 years from now, where Condon's at first, Holiday's at short or third. Both guys could mash combined for 60, 65 home runs.
Okay, this is going to sound like a crazy question, especially because I'm talking to a big baseball fan. Are the Rockies worth watching this year, or should we really start paying attention next year?
I'll say this, because fans have every right to hate this team and be frustrated, because the product they put on last year was embarrassing.
They don't hate the team; they hate the owner.
Right, and I would say this: Walker's running the show right now. Yes. Nobody even talked about Dick Bumford when I was around the team yesterday. It doesn't even come up. And it feels different in that way. And Walker has let Depot and Josh Burns do their jobs. Will that stay? I don't know. I don't. I'm just saying right now, it does feel totally different than it's felt when I've been down there before, where everything was make excuses. We have no money. We have no technology. It's always something. I don't feel that. But the reason they would be worth watching this year is that it's a representative big league lineup. They're going to be better defensively if Tovar and Doyle are healthy. It's just going to look like big league baseball. Could they avoid 100 losses? I don't know about that. Again, people keep asking me they're going to avoid 100. I'm like, folks, that's a 20-game improvement. They lost 119 last year. But I just think even if they lose 103, it's going to look way more competitive than it did this last year. Could they be the White Sox? Remember, you know the White Sox well, Eric. Mm-hmm. Last year, the White Sox became an interesting team. We were like, holy crap, they got some dudes.
Yep.
They had that shortstop they got from that high school Texas kid. You're like, okay, this is what it should look like when you're drafting in the top 10 for 5 straight years. Right. Eventually, you should have some guys where you're like, these guys are pretty good. And White Sox are talking down here in terms of, could they win 75 games this year, 78 games? So that's why I'm saying, what you saw from the White Sox last year, I don't know that the Rockies are there, but it should at least look like big league baseball. And there's Karros. There's some young guys you're going to see. Karros, Dolander, some of these young guys, you're like, okay, that guy could be a piece going forward. But I'm not going to tell you, given the benefit of the doubt, they got to show it. It's just, I can tell you philosophically, analytically, it's now a professional baseball team.
Well, baby steps, right?
Baby steps, little baby steps.
Just take the baby steps. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Make it the best possible day you can.